Season of the Witch is one of those films that you know whether you're going to like it or not before you even get to the theater. You probably knew whether you're going to like it or not when you saw the trailer, with Nicolas Cage as the main star, the theme of a witch in medieval ages, and for those of you that saw some of the later trailers, Ron Perlman as basically the main supporting actor. And in that case, I like it, because I kind of like these films. I mean, I'm a guy that sits around and watches sometimes these really bad B-movies, and I like sometimes, this is fun, escapist cinema. Not that I don't like the serious stuff, but I appreciate the fun stuff as well. And in that case, I found Season of the Witch to be quite enjoyable. And if you're kind of one of those people that are sitting there like, this might be something I would like, looking at the trailer, then you should see it, because you'll probably like it. Now, there are some major plot problems in this film, and perhaps some character flaws as well, but I think overall it's still an enjoyable experience, and there's certainly been worse films out there. Now, getting into the, let's say, the flaws of this film, or let's say the plot flaws, I'm afraid I'm going to have to get into spoiler territory. So you've heard my recommendation, and I hope that's enough if you don't want to have the movie spoiled for you, to make your own judgment, but from this point on, spoiler warnings are in effect. Now, the film is a bit contradictory, I think, in its nature, and I kind of like this contradiction. If I shall get into this, well, let me point out what I mean by that is that the film is actually trying to show that the problems that religion had in the Middle Ages, the extremism, the let's slaughter people different from us that don't believe in our God, yada yada, with the fact that, you know what, religion has its purpose, and church and rituals have its purpose, and it's kind of showing how, there's flaws, but the systems still need it. I think that's, if you were to talk to the director, that might be what their underlying motive is to try to get across. I could be completely wrong, but this is my interpretation. Because we're shown that there are demons and stuff floating around, and we're even coming around to a lot of, say, some of the more religious characters. Actually, religion is somewhat the big character arc in this film. We go from your rather, I would say nowadays, stereotypical approach to the Middle Ages, showing men going off to slaughter infidels, women being burned at the stake for little things, being accused of being witches, to kind of seeing that there's really evil out there, and you kind of need a religious text and stuff to fight this evil. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be demons, but it could be sin in all its other forms. There are about 7 of them, if I recall, that are quite deadly. And I like that. If you've listened to some of my videos, you know when kind of things that are at least modern day perceived to be contradictory are mixed together again. I like that type of stuff. I like mixing magic and science, and in this case, like mixing the need for religion with some of the flaws of religion. It's a great storytelling, and it shows that the world and how most societies are quite complex. That there's no real easy solution. That getting rid of all religion will solve our problems, and that just blindly following religion will solve your problems. It's a rather good mix, and I enjoy this type of story, or at least this type of theme. Now, where there are some problems with this particular mix is probably in the story structure, how it's set up. The very first scene has a bunch of women being executed for witchcraft, and then later that night the priest comes back to do a sacred ceremony to try to make sure they don't rise again. It might seem kind of silly to some people until one of the executed women actually does get back up and turns all demonic on them, which basically then tells us, the audience, that yes, there are absolutely 100% evil demonic forces in the world, at least in this film version's world. And, well, that's a problem, because the rest of the film is trying to build tension of whether this woman is actually a witch or not. And actually, I said there were spoilers. She's not, which is the problem I have with the title. I'm going to get to that in 1 second. But, anyway, come in two former Crusaders who deserted, although I don't think you really could desert, as I think those were pretty voluntary organizations on Crusades. But they're considered deserters because Ron Perlman and Nicolas Cage's characters are sick of all the people they've been slaughtering in the Crusades and decide to return home. Again, I might be wrong on a historical part about people could just kind of opt out of the Crusade at any time, but they were told as knights, so they were noblemen, which means they probably could. But this is not exactly a historical film, so I'm not going to get into it on that. But they're basically taking this town, and they're eventually convinced to escort this accused witch to a monastery for the purposes that they see as this is another person being abused by the church, and that they're going to protect her. Now, of course, while they're on this journey, though, they start maybe seeing hints that there's more to this than this another the church accusing somebody wrong, which adds to tension, because for much of that you don't know, is this priestess the priest that is going with them that accused her of being a witch, is he really an unreasonable one of these these classic kind of, I don't want to say classic because they're kind of the new trope of a medieval priest as being, everyone's evil or everyone's the devil, burn everybody at the stake, even if they're innocent type people. And you kind of over time, he has a bit of an arc where we kind of see he's much more reasonable. He's more more concerned with fighting evil than this kind of being all burn happy or witch killing happy. And they kind of do a good job with that. Although I think Nicolas Cage's character switches a little too quickly from being helpful of the witch to kind of deciding we should slaughter her. And it kind of happens when the witch kind of grabs one character, holds him up off of a ledge by one arm. He kind of immediately goes, she is a witch. Now before that, there were subtle hints. She would escape. She would kind of jump on people and kind of grab them, and she's quite strong, but you still don't know 100% whether, is she just quite strong and desperate and trying to escape with all this stuff because she's a scared woman who's been falsely accused, or because she's a witch. Like I said, as it turns out, she's a demon. And that's the problem, I think, with the title, is I still can't make sense of the title now because of that. If there was maybe a theme of seasonality within this, that things are changing, it's coming, in circles, and this stuff always happens, I can go, yes. I can see the seasonal part. It did talk about witchcraft, so seasonal witch makes sense. It's actually, the woman's possessed by a demon, actually, it turns out. A demon who's trying to find exorcist books and destroy them, because, then apparently people won't be able to re-find out all these things which they learned in the first place and wrote down. How to beat demons. But that's the demon's goal, is he wants to be taken to the monastery to destroy the last copies of these exorcist books. And that's a pet peeve. Again, it's just the title, so it's not going to really affect the storytelling too much, although it still gets to me. I can't, more like Season of the Devil, or Cold Winter of a Possessed Girl Who People Think is a Witch. That's a more apt title for it, all things considered. But like I said, it's a really minor complaint. Now, there is, of course, heavy use of CG. Not necessarily the best CG, but not the worst. I've seen worse CG done, so I can't complain too much on that. So there might be, if you're really, really hate CGI effects, you will probably not like this film. But like I said, it's not the worst CGI I've seen, and I really don't think this film was worthy of a January release. I think they could have done this one sometime in December, although it's not really a December-y movie, being full of witches and demons and wolves and such. Still, I think they should have delayed this for like another 3 months, and had it been in a March release, I think it would have been fine. But what do I know? I'm just a guy on YouTube. So there's my recommendation, or at least there's my review. I hope you got a sense then whether you want to see this film. I recommend it, but I know this won't be for everybody's liking. So take that as it is. Signing off for now.